so good here 2 weeks ago, Alastair. What's your reaction to tonight?
Yeah, we played against a good side. Not that Melbourne weren't, but it just shows you just got to be on your best game. And we felt like we were in the contest, and it was pretty spirited. Just the difference in the two sides was just the polish with the footy, and I'm not sure if the word's bravery, but their willingness to take risks and take the ball forward and use the ball well, and that just ended up cutting us to pieces. They nearly teased us to take the ball wide. We had more possession than the Sydney side, but they won metres gained by a significant margin. They allowed us to take the ball to positions on the ground that weren't threatening, and we took them and never really challenged in the part of the ground that was most significant, and that's corridor and centre forward and connecting with your forward. So to their credit, they're a very good side. They made a grand final last year and were the best side really for the bulk of the year last year. They didn't get it done on the last day in September, but they've been a very good side for a reason, and they showed what a good side they were to us tonight. But we, despite the margin and the disappointment, we did get spanked at Stoppage in the second half. There was a part of the game, and it's a part of our game that's usually very, very strong. But we lowered our colours. Grundy and their midfielders got on top in the second half to their credit, and that's caused really the blowout in the scores in the third quarter. They just had the game played in their half for pretty much the whole of the quarter. So that was the most disappointing part of the game. But outside of that, I thought we competed well enough and we gave ourselves a chance with ball in hand. But as I said, they forced us to spots on the ground where we couldn't really be as dangerous as we'd like to be.
Alastair, your captain, Jason said post-game just said he thought that was a goal us. What do you make of those comments, and do you share that sort of sentiment?
No, I think we're on the right path, and we're making some progress. I mean, players get emotional and just really look at the scoreboard. But we've made some progress as a footy club, and we'll continue. As I said, we played against a very, very good side, and we just couldn't put the pressure on them that we'd like. Because they were keeping us so wide. If we did turn the footy over, it gave these guys the corridor, and this side is. Over the last 12 months to 2 years, have been the best corridor football side in the competition. So we gave the ball back to them too much. So I think, whilst we don't want to make excuses and that sort of stuff, we feel like we're making some progress. But it was disappointing that we couldn't capitalise on some of our opportunities early in the game, and they made the most of theirs. In the first quarter, the inside 50s were the same. Or thereabouts, and they scored 5 goals and we scored 2, and they 70% of the time they go inside 50, they score.
What do you put that inefficiency down to when you go inside 50? Because I think at half time there was like a 30% discrepancy between the sides and efficiency.
Yeah, how wide you take the ball on the ground, and that's what I'm saying. Sydney have been the best side in the competition for the last 2 years of owning the corridor. And they owned it tonight. And we knew that going into the game. The challenge for us was to try to work out how we could get the ball into the corridor more often, but they forced us wide, which was to their credit. And then when the ball did turn over, then it allowed them to trampoline straight through the middle of the ground, which caused a lot of easy metres gained for them, and then makes it very, very difficult to defend when they've got the ball coming straight through the middle and you've got the whole width of your inside 50 to choose a forward target.
Were you happy with the presentation of your forwards? Like, do you feel that they worked hard enough to present for the midfielders running through?
Well, that's the thing. It's very, very difficult when the ball's coming from so wide. It would have been beautiful to be a forward in the Sydney side today, because the ball's coming through the corridor and you've got multiple options, and you're not sure whether they're going to kick it wide or to a lead up or out the back. And that's the benefit you get when you own the corridor of the ground. And as I said, Sydney have been really, really strong in that space in the last 2 years, and that's where they were really strong again tonight.
How difficult was it in that third quarter when Heaney really went to work, Alastair? When he gets going, he's just about unstoppable, isn't he?
Yeah, they're a good football side. As I said, for the bulk of last year, they're on top of the ladder and by a fair margin, and played some outstanding footy. And unfortunately for them, they weren't playing anywhere near their best in the last part of September. But geez, if the grand final would have been in July or August, I reckon Sydney would have won the flag. So they're a good side, and they showed us that way tonight, to their credit. And we'll roll up the sleeves, pick up the pieces. The sun's going to come up tomorrow. It doesn't feel like it will right at the moment, but we'll get back to work. We know there's a fair gap between us and Sydney right at the present time, and it'll be a good opportunity for us to realise that we've got a lot of work to do as a footy side, and we're able to gather around in another big challenge against Gold Coast next week.
I was going to say that one of the hottest, if not the hottest side of footy at the start of the season. Just your thoughts on what you do this week, just to this one going, get back on the horse.
Yeah, we'll assess some of the things that we did well and some of the things that caused us trouble tonight, and let's get ourselves set for Gold Coast next week.
Okay. Luke Davies-Uniacke seemed to be struggling with that left hip. Do you have any more information on that?
No, but he was able to finish the game. There's some bumps and bruises all the time in games of footy. It's a collision game, so. But yeah, we spoke to him throughout the course of the game. He was okay to continue, so he might have been a little bit hampered by it. But that was a pretty good battle. He went head to head with Heaney, and at different stages, both of them were influential for their side. But I just thought that was a really strong battle. But probably over the course of the game, particularly the second half, the Sydney side were able to get on top at stoppage, and some of those clearances wasn't so much about the number of clearance differential. It was more the quality of them, and some of those they came straight out the front and were able to find targets forward of the ball a lot easier than what we got our clearances with.
Was there a sense in that as well that there was a little bit of reactiveness from your side, whereas they were a little bit more proactive around those contests as well?
Well, that happens when you get your tail up, doesn't it? You get confident and apply scoreboard pressure to the opposition, and that was the exact opposite 2 weeks ago when we did that to Melbourne. When you can get that sort of run on and confidence, and as you said, be proactive around those plays. But I thought the Sydney side was so much better than us in that space, and especially in the second half.
After a reality check loss like that, what's the message to the playing group post game?
I think I answered that question 2 minutes ago, so go back and watch the tape.